may I take the opportunity to thank the organizers for giving me the privilege to come here, the opportunity to speak to you, and to show some of my work. I was told always that you never apologize before giving your presentation, but I think in this case I have to, because many persons sitting here today thought they were going to see an Australian female, blonde hair with a black mini skirt. I do apologize for that. I am the day, and I'm giving my own presentation. My talk is on reframing the South China Sea. And when I told this to a friend of mine, they said, well, what are you going to say? The sea is already reframed. No, my hypothesis were working on reframing the sea long before we ever came up with the concept. Okay? So I was told to talk about it, and I did. But I was told, do not mention territory, sovereignty, or other issues. And I'm not going to touch on those. Those have been discussed already. Basically, I'm giving you the geographical reality of the South China Sea. Most of you will know it, but I have to re-emphasize it. I'm going to talk about some historical facts and some fiction, maybe. I'll introduce some of the natural environments that we're concerned with. More importantly, focus on the hydrographical surveying and charting of the South China Sea. I think that's very important, and I'll show you why the British in particular, the Japanese later, and the Americans were so involved in charting the South China Sea back in the 1800s and early 1900s. The view of the setting sun reminds me of my days out in the Merchant Navy in the South China Sea. It was so peaceful. We traveled wherever we wanted. Nobody said you are encroaching in our 200-mile leads there. And we even fished from the ship, and there was no problem. All we had those days practically. A letter written in 1843 on board the HMS said that the ship was being sent out to the South China Sea for peaceful purposes, to go and survey, to take magnetic readings, and also to pick up some coal from Borneo so that they could test the quality of the coal on board their steaming ships. So it was all very innocent. Good ideas. I didn't want you to read all that, I was just showing it to you. The limits of the South China Sea are shown on this sketch. You have seen it before. There may be different interpretations of the limits of the South China Sea these days. In fact, some states even go to say it's called the Philippine Sea, the Vietnam Sea, maybe I should say the Brunei Sea, China would say the South China Sea. But that's the limits, and that's what I'm focusing on. I've heard complaints that we need to divide the sea. And I wonder if we really need to divide the sea, because plate tectonics are actually moving the land masses closer to each other by some 8 centimeters a year. So if I'm still alive, maybe the Philippines will be sitting on the coast of China, 8 centimeters a year. Okay? So I just show you this. This is the area we're talking about, and that plate is moving closer to China. So don't worry about maritime boundaries. Just look after this one. Andy Segment saying, no, you're taking my work away from me. Images of the South China Sea. Well, they're satellite images these days. So don't tell me you can't give me your map or your chart. Because if you say I can't have it, I'll go to Google and download the imagery. Right? There is a hang-up in this region that you're not allowed to have maps and charts. And I think that's the problem. Images of reefs and islands seen from above. So you can't do anything too secretly these days, because someone out there can spot what you're doing. Just enlarge the screen. And you can't do anything down at the bottom as well, because the fish can see you, and so can the ships with all their fancy electronic equipment. I'm going very quickly through this because I realize time is of the essence. If you look at the maps, physical maps, political maps of the region. The political map looks something like this, very crowded, lots of information. And yet, we see here, back in 1878, I'm told that the South China Sea was being mapped in hydrographic terms. It was very important because of the shipping, as Nasri said this morning. We had the interest of the community at heart when surveying these seas. If I take a ship out there now, one country is bound to tell me, why are you there? What are you doing? We want to know. Give us permission, whatever it is. And that is a problem in this day and age. Someone mentioned continental shelf a few minutes ago. This is what we are grumbling about. This is what we are arguing about. Each country can have access to its continental shelf. Where is the continental shelf? Now we have to go and prove that it belongs to us. In the past we didn't. It was there for us to use. So this is the big issue now. Andy will probably elaborate on this aspect a little later, so I won't dwell on it. But one thing that we do have to know is, where is the foot of the slope? Did you ever think of the foot of the slope before? I don't think so. It's become a legal term, a scientific term, and we're spending a lot of money to prove where this foot of the slope is. The Indians are sending people up to space. We are having to prove down here where the foot of the slope is. This is the plate tectonics I just mentioned about. These plates are moving. It's a very scientific diagram, but to give you an idea of what we're all talking about these days. I won't dwell on it. You'll find this on any website, any scientific journal. A couple of days ago, we had a typhoon hit across the Philippines, across the South China Sea, devastating, the largest, any adjective you want to use for it, wind speeds of 100 miles per hour, or that equivalent in kilometers per hour, rain 200 millimeters, and wave heights of 4 meters. So now we say we need cooperation. Right? Whose sea does that belong to? Whose problems does it belong to now? We have to have cooperation. So we cannot divide the sea in one way, and yet we have to. And we'll talk about that a little later. This was taken of an earlier sea on the 2nd of October, this typhoon. So within the space of 8 months or so,